Hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I was born and bred in Lagos. Yes, I am a real Omo Eko. Eko Ile. I am an Igbo girl, a confirmed Igbo girl who lived most of her life in Yoruba land. My childhood is laced with fond memories of a perfect blend of Yoruba culture with my ancestral Igbo culture. I remember when my mother and her siblings would gather, maybe when they come to visit her at my home or when she takes us to their place. They had their conversations from beginning to end in Yoruba language. No. When they're together, they do not speak Igbo. Imagine a group of 4, 5, 6 siblings together and they're discussing and laughing and jeering in Yoruba language. That was what I saw. In fact, my mother's last born, my uncle, Uncle Taye, Uncle Taye, he has a Yoruba name. He doesn't have any Igbo name. He doesn't bear or answer an Igbo name. We all call him Uncle Taye. He's a twin. His twin Kende passed, but he's known as Uncle Taye. So while my mother and her siblings jeered and interacted in Yoruba, it was so interesting and fascinating to me. I would sit close to them, trying to pick 1 or 2 words. And true to it, that was where I learned all of these Yoruba words and slangs that I use in my videos. The Yoruba I speak on my channel sometimes I throw in here and there. Yes, I learned them all from my mother and her siblings. In the evenings, when my mother relaxed and did business in her shop, I often fancied how she would converse with all the Yoruba vendors that passed by. The never-ending greeting, oh my God, back and forth. Eku joko, eku palemodu, eku share, eku this, eku that. They would greet, they would talk, they would laugh in Yoruba. And all of her closest friends that I have known, most of them were Yorubas. My mother worked in the Lagos State Civil Service, so her colleagues, mostly Yorubas, Mrs. Awosoya, Mrs. Akiola, Mrs. Dosumu, many of them were Yoruba women. I was so used to being around them. So exposed to that kind of free spirit and lack of bias from my family, from my childhood, I grew up with that orientation. Trust me, is mostly about orientation. One of my closest friends as a young girl then was Papa Tope, a Yoruba grandfather. And every evening he would call out to get some fresh air, and I would go spend time outside with him and he would teach me Yoruba. He didn't speak any English at all and I didn't speak any Yoruba, yet we were close. He would teach me the language through gesticulation. He would teach me Joko, sit down. He would teach me Dide. He would teach me Soro. He would teach me Sare, meaning to run away. He would teach me Jeun, Ewa Jeun, and I would learn. I never failed to go there with my daughter every time, and I would take note of all the Yoruba that he's teaching me. And my parents never stopped me. Amala, Ewedu, and Betagbegiri with plenty pepper. The staple Yoruba food became my best local dish. Even here where I am, it is the only meal that I drive hours to go and consume. And I have indoctrinated both my husband and my children into the whole Amala frenzy. They are my typical Igbo Nwaba husband that was born and bred in the East is now an Amala fanatic just like me. I have never ever acted differently, felt differently, been differently about or to anyone by reason of their tribe, by reason of being Yoruba or any tribe at all, or any country or any nationality. Here the church I attend is owned and run by a South African. My pastor is a South African. I have several Nigerian churches close to me, but I choose to worship and fellowship with my South African brother. And those that are following me on my other channel, Neze Peperempe, have seen my pastor and know what I'm talking about. My life and the decisions I take is not guided by any underlying scorn. if any exists, or any difference between me and my brothers and sisters from other tribes. I only choose to deal with people and affiliate with them based on their personalities and the strength of their characters, never their tribe, language, or nationality. But here I am as a grown woman, and what I see, what I hear, drives shivers all through my body. I cannot understand or believe for the life of me what is going on. Yoruba must die, Igbo must go, Hausa must quench. Ethnic tensions in Nigeria is believed to have been bettered after the Nigerian Civil War, a war between Nigeria as a federation and the Republic of Biafra, a secessionist group comprised of the Igbos, who declared their independence from Nigeria in 1967. The factors, reason and causes for their decision to choose to secede, to break away from Nigeria, is quite a lot. I cannot go into the whole history in this video, but of course you're free to read it up or watch videos of it. So this war resulted in the deaths of millions of people, especially children. The casualties leaned more towards the Igbos, Igbo civilians who died from famine and starvation when the Nigerian government blocked an entry of food supplies into the east. And that is why so many people describe this war as no war at all, but a pure mass genocide. I will stop there. Every war is a tragedy in itself, but its ripple effects, its long-term consequences, its life-defining results is another tragedy that we do not take enough account of. All the buried hostilities, all the pain, revenge, and unforgiveness which stings at the back of the throat, the scar on the nation's history, and the indelible mark it leaves on the hearts of the people who experienced it and their generations to come is indeed very far-reaching. And up until today, the Igbo tribe have bemoaned marginalization and segregation in the government, by the government. Of course, when the war began, the Igbos had to vacate wherever they were based and domiciled and returned back home to the east. They lost their employments, they lost their positions, lost their investments and businesses, they lost their ranks in military positions. They were displaced economically. And after the war, getting back into the system was difficult as expected. Those positions would not have been left vacant for almost 3 years, waiting for them to come back. So they were clearly displaced, and integrating back into that society that they had been warring against became a very huge challenge. Like, where do you even start from? Is it occupy the former position that has been replaced, or is it start from the scratch? So it bettered a position where Igbo representation became rare, especially in top positions of the military and the civil service. The Igbos had to then resort to business in order to keep body and soul together and preserve their existence. Why don't we teach history in schools, for Christ's sake? Many of these developed countries around the world pride themselves in their history. Whether it's good history or bad history, they will tell it, they will preserve it. You go to historical parks, you go to public libraries, and you see books about their history being passed down from generation to generation. But here in Africa, our leaders at the helm of affairs would rather suppress our history. They would rather bury it. Would you imagine that the Nigerian government have scrapped history as a subject from its curriculum in schools? History, which is supposed to be the #1 compulsory subject. Let the people know their history. Because a history not told, a history not known, is a history that will be repeated. But we think that we are doing ourselves good by concealing and burying our history. What a pity. The people should know the history. Our children should be taught their history. So when these cowards, these faceless bigots, come with Yoruba occupy Lagos, send the Igbos away, and Igbos kill Yorubas. Before these lunatics start their agenda, there will be abreast of the possible outcome and repercussions of such agendas. The other day, I was reading and researching the Rwandan genocide. Yes, I know about it skeletally, but I wanted to have the full story, the full image. So I was reading about it. The Hutu people and the Tutsis, and the genocide that had almost 1 million Tutsis murdered within 100 days space. Just within 100 days, almost 1 million people were murdered. Ethnic bigotry. Oh, tribalism. Tribalism. What are we doing to ourselves? So let's go back to Nigeria and the story that I am telling you about. So the Federation of Nigeria continued to exist with that underlying feeling of scorn buried within. Not so prominent, not so apparent, not so glaring, but it was there. It existed subtly in the place of work. Favoritism, tribalism, in appointments, in positions, in promotions, even in marriages. Do not marry Yoruba, God forbid. Omo Yoruba, Onya Yoruba, hey, God forbid, not my daughter, the Anambra man would say. And the Yoruba woman would say, Omo Igbo, no, God forbid, do not marry Igbo. It was there, but it has never been as direct and crystal as what we are seeing today. So how did all of this start? What can we trace as the beginning of this new modern age tribal bigotry? The NSAS protest. The NSAS protest was a very remarkable event, and it will go down in history as such. For the first time, Nigerians rose up en masse, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of culture, regardless of religion, regardless of personal affiliations. The people rose up as a people to challenge the government and the ills in their society. One voice. There were no divisions. There were no Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Ibira, Tiv, Ishekiri. No. One people, one purpose, one voice, one agenda. They identified their common enemy called incompetent governance, and they challenged and faced it head on. It was such a movement, such an unstoppable movement, that the government had to do what they had to do to put it to a halt. And they could only do that because they saw the inferno and they saw the force and the power of that unison and movement. And they sure learned their lesson. They identified the strengths and their weaknesses. Oh, our politicians should add at the sheer disbelief at the enormity of wave and strength that could come, that will metamorphose if the people stay together as one single unit. If they kept tribal and religious sentiments and affiliations to the corner, if they came together as one to challenge their enemies, that realization bettered structures that will be put in place to ensure that that unison never existed again. And these structures were very evident in what transpired at the last elections, especially in Lagos State. Hate and ethnic violence were allegedly sponsored on scale, both physically on ground and on social media. Oh yes, it was alleged that people, accounts, blogs were recruited and paid to inject and infuse ethnic bigotry and hate amongst tribes. Seeds of discord, seeds of division, divide and rule. And we are so blind to see this. Yoruba Ronu, Yoruba Ronu. Igbo wants to take our land because one single lunatic opened his mouth to say rubbish. Anybody can say anything. He wasn't backed by any pan-Igbo group. He wasn't backed by any traditional ruler. He was, in fact, produce the agency, the group, the people, the government recognized union that made this projection that Igbos want to take over Yoruba land. No, nobody could be produced. No group could be fingered. But that word was injected into social media, into the minds of people. Yoruba, wake up. Igbo wants to take our land and send us away from our place. And trust the population who are comprised mostly of illiterates and poverty-stricken minds. Such agendas are very easy to sell. And then action began. Igbos who came out to vote in a place where they resided and did business and had investments were targeted, beaten, stripped, maimed, wounded, and sent back home. No, being Igbo is even far enough. Merely looking Igbo could make you an easy target. There were open threats, political talks, making open threats without any inhibitions, clear, brazen threats with their kuru face. And this caused many people to wonder if the government actually supported that movement, because what a government does not condemn, it is implied to support. And up till today, none of these individuals who carried out these threats, these harassments, and these series of assaults have been reprimanded, have been arrested, have been brought to book. Rather, some drivers were rewarded with political appointments and positions. And now the tension is getting deeper with every passing day. And then we're at the point where we get the news about a crime, a sad occurrence, and nobody is particular about condemning the acts of the crime itself. We began to look at the name. Oh, it is them, it is this people, it is that people. And here I am, looking at these events unfold before my very eyes with the most absolute shock and sheer disgust. So a few hours ago, I heard a very shocking and disturbing voice note showing this grown-up Mama Madu. I don't even think I should play such evil right here. But this lady was threatening to eliminate members of other ethnic groups, calling for them to be poisoned, for them to be killed, for this to happen to them. This Igbo woman called Amaka Patience, whom of course do not represent the Igbos in any way, form or fashion. She was clearly on a frolic of her own. Typically, when I get this kind of news, I would ignore, because I feel talking about it is giving credence and relevance to such people. I believe that it should be totally ignored and the responsible authorities should deal with them. But on a second thought, I realized the importance due to this ethnic division that we are facing. For me, as an Igbo girl, to stand up and condemn such things, just as I will be pleased and satisfied when a Yoruba or Hausa person utters a distasteful word against another tribe, how I will be pleased when I see his fellow tribal brothers and sisters call him to order and condemn his actions. It gives a different level of satisfaction when this condemnation is coming from that same ethnic group that the bigotry came from. It's also very important that when there is an ill in our society, especially this ill that has a history of having far damning effects, when such ills rear its head, it is important for us to talk about it, address it, spread healing words. So we cannot go about pretending like they do not exist. It is good for us to have these conversations, because trust me, this tribal rivalry are gaining momentum every day. They are building up, and if not checked and nipped, it may result in far more reaching consequences. How can a human being hate another human being for no reason? Not because they have done something to you, not because they have offended you, not because they have cheated you, not because they have robbed you, only because that person comes from another tribe. Is that not the height of stupidity and shallow-mindedness? Is that not the height of illiteracy and folly? How can we allow politicians to brainwash us, to be at loggerheads with each other, with one another, to enable them carry out their own selfish intentions? While they further their ambition, they knock our heads together and we're on social media insulting each other, threatening each other. It brings absolutely no single benefit to us. Kai, how can we allow ourselves to be recruited into ethnic bigotry against our fellow Christian brother and sister, against our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters, yet on Sundays would occupy the front row, speaking in tongues and deceiving ourselves? It is such a very, very sad situation. I'm glad to know that the identity of this woman has been uncovered. I am also glad to know that these threats were made in a country where such utterances are not condoned. I believe that she will be made to atone for these threats and these utterances. And I would also like to see a situation where the Nigerian government swings up and takes action the way the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abike Dabiri, was very quick to publish this lady's name and face and take all these actions, which I love so much. But I would love to see a situation where it can be replicated regardless of the tribe or ethnicity that stems up this hate, so it doesn't look lopsided. You see, ethnicity, just like racism, is a phenomenon that I believe would always remain. It can never go extinct, but it can be reduced to a barest minimum. It can be mitigated. It can be suppressed. And the first way that these kinds of things can be checked is through government intervention. If the government is not strict in identifying and punishing people who stir up these kinds of utterances and these kinds of behaviors, then it will continue. Because as human beings are animals. Where there are no repercussions for behavior, people would always act out of line. Look at racism abroad. Who told you that it does not exist? It exists so much. There's so many people that nurse hatred and bitterness in their hearts at other races or for other races. But it's checked. You can only see it manifest systematically. But if you are mad enough to voice it out or act it out the way it is being done now in Nigeria, then you have yourself to blame, because you will be punished. There are legislation enacted that checks such behaviors. So if Nigerian government and the government in Africa are ready and willing to deal with tribalism and ethnic hate, they need to put strict measures in place that will act as a deterrent to others. But will they? Will they? When they are the biggest beneficiaries, the biggest winners in the game, when they are the ones that benefits from that situation the most. So how will they try eliminating it? Secondly, the family. I started this story by narrating how my family system and structure and orientation formed me into the person that I am now, that cannot go around hating other tribe because they are Yoruba or Fulani or South Africa. It is not in my DNA. I wasn't raised that way. No child is born racist. No child is born tribalistic until an adult tells them, until an adult teaches them. A new baby of Caucasian origin will play with just about any other baby. A black baby, a Jewish baby, an Asian baby, a Hispanic baby. That Caucasian baby will play with any baby until his parents or his uncles and aunts tell him, no, not those ones. Not those ones. Orientation, indoctrination, and it starts from the family, the first and primary agents of socialization in the lives of any human being, before it then graduates to peers, associations, and all of that. But the family first. So what are you teaching your children? What are you saying around your children? What kinds of utterances are you making? What kinds of agendas are you promoting, either consciously or subconsciously, to the hearing, to the seeing, to the knowledge of your children? Are you raising another Amaka in the making, or another Mr. Yoruba Ronu? Igbos must go? Are you subconsciously planting seeds of hate in the subconscious of your children? God forbid Igbo, God forbid Yoruba, God forbid this, God forbid that. The children are getting socialized. You are creating a future societal problem for the next generation. What we must know as parents is that we are temporal custodians of these children that God gave us. Their father is in heaven. It was a loan, yes. He just gave you these children for a temporal time, and you would account for what you have filled them with, how they turned out, what you teach them, and the overall kind of human beings that they will be. This pure-hearted soul that God handed over to you will come back to him as a senseless, hateful tribal bigot who goes on social media sensitizing hate and harm to other people by reason of their tribe, religion, ethnicity, or nationality. If you are that parent that sets up that foundation for your children, you will account to God. I pray that we are blessed with wisdom to realize that no nation actually grows, no nation at all can grow in a place filled with hate and antagonism. To realize that our strength as a people lies in our unity and not our division. Again, may God in his infinite wisdom bless us with knowledge and understanding, because these happenings that I'm seeing, it is beyond pathetic. Do drop your thoughts down in the comment section on everything that I have said, everything that we have discussed today. If you're from other African countries, do drop in the comment section what it is like in your country. Do you guys have the same ethnic division existing amongst you, or is it one big united country? Do drop your thoughts, do drop your situations, do drop every way you feel down in the comment section. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. If you're new here, seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your comments down in the comment section, and stay glued because we have so much more coming your way. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye.